All right, that Monday night doubleheader is mercifully in the books, and we're going to break down both games tonight as the Dolphins took down the Jets and the Broncos hammered the Bengals. I said it. This is a rare night where I'm glad there's a doubleheader because I don't love the outlook of either of these matchups, but when you get two games, chances are one of them ends up being decent, and at least Dolphins and Jets was relatively close. We'll break down that game first coming up in a minute, but before we do so, this is why you subscribe to the channel. Good games, bad games. We are reacting to all primetime games all year long, and we have daily coverage throughout the week as well. Latest news, storylines around the National Football League, some college football content as well. You don't want to miss out. Subscribe today. We are the channel for you. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Let's get to the first game of the night as the Dolphins took down the Jets 27-21. It was 27-14 with less than 2 minutes left before the Jets, or 27-13 before the Jets scored and did the analytical play, went for two and got it, but failed to recover the onside kick, and that was the end of the game. You know, does anyone think either of these two teams is doing much this year? No. Here's what I will say, though, about the Miami Dolphins is for the second straight week, they've actually played pretty good. I mean, they were tied in the fourth quarter against the Bills last week on Thursday Night Football, 21-21, before Buffalo pulled away. And this week, they really controlled this game from start to finish. Final score feels close. It was not that close of a game. And now moving forward, Miami has at Carolina next week. They just got smoked by New England. Chargers at home, but at least you get them at home. And then at the Browns and at the Falcons. You know, three of your next four, they are the easier games are on the road, but those are some winnable games. And look, the Dolphins are easy to make fun of. They're kind of a soft team, but they have won a decent amount of games under Mike McDaniel. I mean, it's not like they've been a complete embarrassment. It's just when it gets cold, if they make the playoffs, they just completely fold. I mean, they're not a very tough team. So I'm not saying they're all of a sudden going to go on a run and go 9-8 or something like that. But you watch these two teams tonight, and it's like, okay, well, if Tua gets protection, he's at least a functional quarterback. He can throw the ball, with accuracy and make mostly good decisions. 17-25, 177, 2 touchdowns, 115 passer rating. Whereas with Justin Fields, the final stat line, it looks good, 20-27, 226 and a touchdown, and mostly make good decisions, but he had an awful fumble that he lost where he's just holding the ball too long, gets hit, comes out, they recover. And a lot of these completions, they're just dump offs underneath, right? Garrett Wilson had that long touchdown in the corner of 23 yards. But other than that, it's a lot of underneath stuff. Mason Taylor looks pretty good. Now, I will say this. They don't have a lot of receiving weapons outside of those two, so there is that. But it kind of tells you what they want to do offensively on the first drive of the game. The first play of the game, they bring 6 offensive linemen out. That's telling you they want to run the football. And listen, Fields had an unbelievable touchdown run tonight where it was the designed boot to the right on fourth down. It's defended well. He reverses Field, 43-yard touchdown. You're like, I tweeted out, I was like, look, Justin Fields is a subpar passer for an NFL quarterback, but plays like that are why teams continue to give him chances because he can change a game like that. I mean, that touchdown run got him back into the game and made it respectable at the end, where if they get an onside kick, who knows? Maybe they have a chance to steal this game. But other than Garrett Wilson, they have no one that strikes fear into you. I like Mason Taylor. He's shown some flashes, but overall, what's been the story of Justin Fields if he's your starting quarterback? If you play from ahead, you can have some success. Run the football. If you have a good defense, he can make plays with his legs. He'll generate a few big plays with his arms over the course of a game, but consistent down-to-down passing is not really his thing. And if you play from behind, you're not going to come back. So they just have limitations with him. That's the reality. I will say this, too, about the Jets. Their defense is not as good as I thought it would be this year. I thought they'd be scrappier. They are not. And they are undisciplined as hell. So I'm not sitting here acting like they're 0-4 because Justin Fields is their quarterback. In 2 out of 3 games, he's played fine. Now, he was awful against the Bills, then he got concussed. But week 1 goes toe-to-toe with Rodgers, played well in that game. They should have won if the kid doesn't fumble the kickoff. And tonight, he's not really the reason they lost. The defense just has major problems. they had a million penalties. That is honestly a bigger concern. Aaron Glenn comes in from Detroit. He's trying to establish a culture. And listen, new system. There's going to be some bumps in the road with pre-snap stuff and whatnot, but 13 penalties for 101 yards. 13 penalties for 101 yards. When you have limitations offensively, you got no shot when you do that. I mean, you got to cut that down, not in half, but by 60, 70% if you want to have a chance to win these games. So, big win for Miami. Obviously, the story from this game is Tyreek Hill. Dislocated knee. I mean, just a devastating injury. It looked gross if you watched it live. I would not recommend watching the replay unless that stuff doesn't gross you out. Some people it doesn't, but did not look good. And, the last couple weeks, he's kind of started to pick it up again. He came out hot in this game, had a pretty good first quarter and a half before he went down, and then just like that, he's done. I mean, I don't know the recovery time for a dislocated knee, but I think it's safe to say his season's over. I mean, they had to rush him to the hospital to get imaging done and probably emergency surgery. I would imagine he's doing that tonight. So his season's over, and the question is does he come back even close to the same? Because the last year and a half, he's still good. He's still dynamic. There's been some disconnect between he and Tua and the Dolphins, but I think it's still fair to say that while he hasn't lost a full step, has he lost a quarter step, a half step? He's 30 years old. He's a twitchy, speedy receiver. And now this, you do wonder what his career looks like moving forward. Now, if he gets a clean bill of health, I'd be interested in signing him if I was a team. The way his contract structure, he will almost certainly get cut this offseason unless he and the Dolphins agree to a reworked deal, but his cap hit is massive. So, he'll have an interesting free agency period. I'll be fascinated to see what that looks like for him. But, man, that's just a devastating injury. It really, really is. I mean, tonight he had 67 yards in the first half before he went down. He's kind of starting to find his groove again because last year was weird when Tua went out. Then, he wasn't putting up numbers. Then he came back. Then at the end of the year, he wants to get traded. Then he backs off of that trade request. He's been trying to kind of earn his, reputation back in that locker room. It's just one of those things that just kind of snowballs. Then now he's out for the year. So we'll see what the Dolphins can do without him. I'll say this, one more note on this game. Darren Waller's first game in almost 2 years, 2 touchdowns. He still looks good. Only had 3 catches, 27 yards. Clearly was on a snap count, but you're not replacing Tyreek Hill, but he can be a red zone threat. I mean, that guy is still athletic as hell and still has a big catch radius. So, if Dolphins fans are clamoring on to any hope of doing anything this year, and listen, I still think they're in a division where after the Bills, it's somewhat up for grabs. Clearly the Jets aren't very good. And, the Patriots are 2-2, but, they were toe-to-toe with New England a couple of weeks ago. So it's not like there's a wide gap between those teams either. All right, before we talk about Broncos-Bengals, I do want to tell you guys about tonight's awesome sponsor. That, of course, is Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy at prizepicks.com/CLNS. You and I make decisions every day, but being right on Prize Picks can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Guys, I've never been this hot on Prize Picks. I hit another 3-player lineup tonight. I had Justin Fields' longest rush, more than 14.5 yards. He had a 43-yard scramble. He also had a 19-yarder, I think, in the first quarter, so that hit pretty early. I took Bo Nix more than 220.5 passing, threw for over 300. And then I took less on Jake Browning's 217.5 passing yards. I thought that was an egregiously high number presented by Prize Picks. So I took the less on that. $20 entry to win $120. Boom, cash. Let's freaking go. So take it or check out Prize Picks. That's how it works. 2 to 6 player lineups. You pick more or less on stat projections, yards, touchdowns, catches, all kinds of stuff. Hits, strikeouts, and baseball playoffs getting going there. So if you want to do some baseball stuff, you can. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. Once you play your first $5 lineup, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. Once you play your first $5 lineup, Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Okay, what a just bloodbath this was. Broncos 28, Bengals 3. I mean, just not competitive. Not competitive. I kind of thought this was coming. Maybe not to this degree, but I did love Denver tonight. It kind of was a hammer play for any gamblers out there, in my opinion. I think it was 7.5, but even with the hook, I like Denver. Look, I know Jake Browning a couple years ago went 4-3, filling in for Joe Burrow. The Bengals defense a couple years ago was also a lot better than it's been last year and certainly this year. Um, Now, Jake Browning was playing a little better at the time than we've seen in 2 starts this year. He looks lost. He's bailing from the pocket early. He's got a weak arm as it is. It's not good. And Jamar Chase is causing issues on the sideline. He's unhappy. T. Higgins feels checked out. I think they know without Joe Burrow, 3 words, they are screwed. I mean, you got no shot. That's my biggest takeaway from Cincinnati watching tonight. And it's a stark difference from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when Burrow was done for the year, clearly you're not going to make a deep playoff run. But Jake Browning was serviceable enough, and they had enough dudes on defense at the time where it's like, okay, they can hang in some games. This team right now, without Joe Burrow, is a bottom 5 team in the NFL. Sure, Chase and Higgins is a great receiver duo. Trey Hendrickson can still generate some pressure. They got no other players. No other players. Chase Brown doesn't look effective. Their offensive line is horrible. Other than Hendrickson, their defensive line is horrible. They're bad on the back end. They got nothing. They got nothing. I mean, it was 28-3, and it really wasn't that close. Look at the total yardage in this game, Denver-Cincinnati. 512 for Denver, 159 for Cincinnati. I mean, that is an absolute bludgeoning. Absolute bludgeoning. And on top of that, the Bengals had 11 penalties for 65 yards. So you're undisciplined. You lack talent. Your defense is horrendous. I mean, they're 2-2. I don't give a damn. They stink. I mean, Joe Burrow, I think at times we overrate him just a touch. Like, I think Allen and Lamar are a little more proven, even though Burrow's been to the 1 Super Bowl. But then you watch games like tonight, and you're like, maybe he is the second best in the league. Because when he's not out there, this franchise is a joke. I mean, they can't function. It's why I grew respect for Tua last year. And don't get me wrong, Burrow's way better than Tua. But the Dolphins in those games without Tua last year, like, they couldn't get first downs. I mean, that was the Bengals tonight. The amount of first downs Cincinnati had tonight, well, on third down, they were 2 for 11. How about that? Total first downs, 9. Denver had 29. Yards per play, 3.7. Denver had 6.4. I mean, it's one of the more lopsided NFL games I can remember. I mean, and not just this, at 28-3, it feels like it was 42-0. I mean, it was a total joke. So, if you're Denver, obviously had to have it. I don't know how much there is to take away. I thought Bo Nix played pretty well. Missed a couple throws early. They had, I think it was Troy Franklin out of the backfield where they ran like a little kind of slot wheel from the running back. And if he hits him in stride, he might have scored, and he just overthrew him. But 29-42, 326, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Thought he was pretty good overall. But the Bengals just offer no resistance. No resistance whatsoever. I mean, J.K. Dobbins rushes for 100 yards, over 6 yards per carry. R.J. Harvey, 58 yards rushing. Sutton, 81 yards. Mims, 69. I mean, it's just, it's one of the worst games I've ever watched at the NFL level. I'm just like, Denver's not even like, they don't feel quite as sharp as they did last year. Defense played better tonight, but again, it's Jake Browning. Bo Nix played better tonight, but, he's been off to a bit of a slow start. And, they feel like a wild card team, like the 6-7 seed, not even like a 12-win wild card team that just doesn't win the division. But the Bengals feel like a 3-win team. I mean, without Joe Burrow, I keep hearing, well, they're holding out hope, like Burrow could get back in December. I'm like, if this is what they're trotting out there ain't going to be a reason to bring him back. Now, it was important to get those first 2 wins to get a buffer, but you've already given those back. You're already 2-2 now. I mean, do you call Atlanta for Kirk Cousins? I might explore that on a video tomorrow, but if this is what you're getting out of Jake Browning, and he's just not good enough to carry this awful roster. Again, he's got 2 good receivers, but the offensive line is atrocious. They can't run the football, and the defense is awful. When you play a backup quarterback, your defense has to be at least decent. You're not going to score 35 points. Like, no backup in the league is going to do that week in and week out. You might have outliers. You might have, random games here and there, but week to week, if your backup's playing for weeks on end and there's more film gets out there, teams are going to pick up on what he does well and what he doesn't, because they're a backup for a reason. They have a lot of flaws to their game. So what a dreadful performance from Cincinnati. And, I just don't really know what you do, to be honest. I mean, I want to say try to trade for Kirk Cousins, but, like, what is he at this point? I mean, I think he's better than Jake Browning, but Cousins behind that offensive line, better get the ball out quick. That's all I got to say. So there you have it. Monday night doubleheader. Jets-Dolphins gave us some entertainment. This game, not so much. We will be back in the studio tomorrow, so check us out then. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys soon here on 4 Verts.